Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to our 12th session of our subject IT 313. So our topic for this afternoon is about research sampling. So our objectives are as follows. Number one, discuss sampling techniques. Number two, value the importance of sampling techniques. And number three, understand mediation of variable between independent and dependent variable. So for research sampling, this refers to the quality assurance and survey methodology, and that sampling is the selection of a subset in terms of statistics. So this is for individuals from within a statistical population to estimate the characteristics of the whole population. So therefore, statistician attempts to collect samples that are representative of the population in question. Sampling has lower cost and faster data collection than measuring the entire population and can provide insights in cases where it is feasible or infeasible to sample an entire population. So each observation measures one or more properties, like for example, weight, location, color, and etc. These are dependent objects or individuals. So in survey sampling, weights can be applied to the data to adjust for the sample design, particularly in stratified sampling. So the results from probability theory and statistical theory are employed to guide the practice. So in business and medical research, however, sampling is widely used for gathering information about the population. And acceptance sampling is used to determine if a production lot of materials meets the government specifications. So for the nature of sampling, um, this refers to the population of the entire set of person, objects, entities that research intends to study. However, in many instances, a population study may not be feasible, so the researcher selects a sample or a subset of the target population. So, example of this, sampling methods refer to the different ways of selecting the sample from the target population. So, some sampling methods aim at obtaining a sample that is representative of the target population. And generally, the study results to the rest of the target population can then be made. However, if the sample is biased, generalizing from the sample to population may less valid or may lead to incorrect inferences. That is why, guys, sampling is very important. Now, what is a population? So, successful statistician practice is based on focus the problem definition. And in sampling, this includes defining the population from which our sample is drawn. So a population can be defined as including all the people or item with the characteristic one wishes to understand. So because there is very rarely enough time or money to gather information from everyone or everything in a population, therefore, the goal becomes finding a representative sample of that population. The population from which the sample is drawn may not be the same as the population about which information is desired. However, often there is a large but not complete overlap between these two groups due to frame issues. And as time went on, time spent in making the sample population and the population of concern precisely is often well spent because it raises many issues, ambiguities, and questions that would otherwise have been overlooked at this stage. So for the sampling methods, we have the probability sampling methods, and the other one is non-probability sampling methods. So for probability sampling methods, each subject or unit in the population has known non-zero probability of being included in the sample. So this allows the application of probability theory to estimate how likely it is that the sample reflects the target population. In statistical terms, a calculation of sampling error can be made. And there are several types of probability sampling methods. So the first two listed below or in the next slide are frequently used as the sole sampling method or combined with other probability sampling methods. So these are the following. Number one, simple random sampling, in which what you're going to do is to get a simple random um, type. So for this, I think most of the time, guys, if we are on a capstone study for IT students, I think simple random sampling is widely used, especially sa mga database. For number two, systematic sampling, in which you're going to make a systematic result for sampling methods. For number three, stratified random sampling, this refers to the stratification of the sampling size, and it is being done through a method. So like for example, madraw lots ka mo guys of 100 population. How are we going to do that? So regardless of the sampling method, for stratified sampling, you may consider 5, 10, 15, 20, something like that. For number four, multi-stage sampling. For multi-stage sampling, you're going to refer to the multi-staging of sampling methods. So like for example, if you are going to produce a column and a row, like for example, A1, A2, A3, A4, and you're going to draw lots for this, what you're going to do is put on a fishbowl the cell in which you're going to draw the lots for. So that is called a multi-stage sampling. For cluster sampling naman, this refers to one set of a population. Like for example, if you're going to divide into a cluster, though ang kalimbawa na kada guys is ang pizza, no? We're going to split on slices. So if a pizza pie is sliced into 8 parts, you can say that 1/8 of the slice is called a cluster. So that is one cluster. Okay, so that is an example of your cluster sampling. Now let's go to non-probability sampling methods. For non-probability sampling methods, this is the selection of subjects or units in which it is left to the discretion of the researcher, and methods are less structured and less strict. So probability theory cannot be used to estimate sampling error, and non-probability sampling methods are usually used for qualitative data or qualitative research when the purpose is exploratory or interpretive. So the most common types of such sampling methods are the following. There are three. Number one, convenience sampling. Number two, purposive sampling. And number three, quota sampling. For convenience sampling, what we're going to do, guys, is ang ginahimo do karon ka mga IT4 students nga they are fielding their study in social media, and anybody can answer their surveys. So that is convenient sampling. For purposive sampling naman, this is specific to the personnel of a certain company, to the barangay officials, or exclusively to um, persons who are employees of the certain organization. So that is purposive sampling. For quota sampling naman, you have to put up a quota for this. Like for example, 80 out of 100. So, out of 100 population, dapat makaabot ka mo sa 80% para malabot ninyo ang quota ninyo. So, that is a quota sampling. Guys, for your activity number 15, you're going to refer to non-probability sampling methods. What you're going to do is to select among three sampling methods and propose your sampling techniques. So, you must or you may use any of online and offline software provided it will be copy pasted to any word processor. You're going to convert it to PDF and upload it as your activity number 15. So take note, you have to select among three sampling methods and the propose your sampling techniques. If you want to put up a sampling technique for uh, probability, you may do so. Basta ball ka mo 2 out of 3 sa non-probability. Now, what you're going to do, guys, is you put your title first, and then afterwards, you put there the sampling technique. So you are going to describe how are you going to do the sampling method. So like for example, let's go back to non-probability sampling methods. If you choose number one, convenient sampling, so you're going to make a comparison or an analogy of the things that you're going to do for convenient sampling. So ibutang nyo ano yung title nyo, and then ibutang nyo dyan convenient sampling and the things that you are going to do for convenient sampling. For purposive naman, ibutang ninyo dyan paano ninyo obrahon kung purposive sampling ang inyo nga gamiton na and quota. So I chose non-probability sampling methods because these are the things or the most often times used in our field sa ano nato sa ICT nga field sa capstone. So our code of the day, guys, is what is the selection of a statistical sample of individuals from within a statistical population to estimate characteristics of the whole population. Okay, so I think you know the answer already. To add Astra per Sapientia to the stars through knowledge. So thank you guys for attending our class for this afternoon, and I'm hoping that you can comprehend the things that we're going to do for our ano. So sampling is just ano a way of representing the whole population. So sampling, generally speaking, before we dive into our capstone nga pang ICT, generally what we're going to do in any field or any category for that matter, guys, sampling is used to determine the representation of a population. So why is it nga kinahanglan naton magbutang ka sample? It's because hindi ninyo tanan-tanan survey ang ano ninyo. And tandaan ninyo kung ang respondents ninyo sa study ninyo is more than 30, kinahanglan doon ninyo butang ka sampling method. However, kung ang ano ninyo, like for example, ang study ninyo is sa barangay lang, pwede nga purposive sampling ang gamiton or convenience, purposive sampling na. Iti, para gina kananda tanan mo sa mga barangay officials lang or saan ba yung magamit ka system ninyo. Iti, gamay lang ang scope ka ano ninyo. That's why ang scope and limitation ninyo is very important, no? Din kamo ma-refer kung kinahanglan ninyo ang sample size. Sa scope and limitation kamo ma-refer. So tandaan ninyo kung more than 29 below, hindi nyo kinahanglan magbutang ka sample, maghimo ka sampling technique. Pero more than 30 ang pasuno ang population kanda ka ninyo ka study ninyo. So that's the time that you're going to make a sample. So like for example, ang inyong system nga ginobra is profiling system ka mga estudyante sa CCS. Imagine na ninyo pila ka bilog ang estudyante sa eskwelahan naton from first year to fourth year. So ibutang ta 150. So sa 150 nga da banta ninyo maubos ninyo do sanda ka pang interview kag mapatesting ang system ninyong ginobra, hindi. So ano imoon, mahimo kamo ka stratified sampling or ma-sampling kamo. So may formula da guys ka sampling, no? I just forgot kung ano ang method nga da. Pero may statistical method for sampling da. I-search niyo sa Google. That's the time kung 150 na ang students, out of 150 nga da, dapat makabol kamo, makasample kamo mga 80, 70, 40 or depende sa result kadang ano ninyo. Sloven's formula gali guys, I'm sorry. Nadumduman ko doon. Ang formula gali for sampling is Sloven. No. Butang ko di ang spelling na sa ano ninyo, sa chat box. So, i-ano ninyo bila guys, i-search ninyo sa Google ang Sloven's for sampling. Kay may formula na siya. So, amo day gamito ninyo ang Sloven kung mag-determine kamo ka kung pira ang population. So, 150 gamitan ninyo ka Slovene, then ang result na amo da ang sample nga ano ninyo. So sir, hindi ang pamangkot, hindi ay handa maka-affect sa study namon ang result kung mag-sample, hindi. Kay kung gin-Slovenes ninyo, kung pera ang result ka Slovene na, amo da igwa na doon ang inyong i-conduct. So amo da, kung 74 gid i-conduct ninyo out of 150. Para mahambal ninyo kag makabutang kamo ka conclusive result nga ang gin-survey ninyo accurate siya at the same time reliable. So that's the beauty of sampling, no? You don't need to conduct your study for the whole population, but instead sample lang gid nanda. So as I've said, balik kita sa definition ka sampling. Um, ang sampling ginagamit gid para mag-represent ka entire population. So kung ano yung sabat kasi 4 out of 150 amo day ang conclusive nga result na nga pwede ninyo mabutang sa study ninyo. So guys, tandaan lang ninyo guys nga kung dapat kung yung mga sample man lang ninyo ang ma-survey or ang masabat or ang kandakan ka study ninyo is mga 7 ka tawo, 10 ka tawo. So I think hindi niyo kinahanglan nga sample. Ang sample nga gamiton ninyo is purposive sampling. So kung ano naman, kung damo naman, gamitan nyo ka Sloven's formula. So makadto ka mo sa sa parametric nga test. So ang ginagamit sa parametric test kung may sample is ang simple random sampling. Ang pinaka gid kay nasa presentation naton. Ang simple random sampling. Sa probability na. Sa non-probability, as I've said, ang tatlo, convenience, purposive, quota. Ang convenience sampling pwede man na siya. Ang ginahimo sa convenience sampling is that like for example, makadto ka mo sa isa ka lugar or sa isa ka agency nga kandakan ka study ninyo. Kung sino ang available nga tawo nanda, amo lang daya i-interviewon ninyo. So ang sabat na amo day bulan yung ka data. Amo day ginatawag nga guys, convenient sampling. Okay. So I hope guys that you learned something from our lecture, and don't forget the code of the day, and tomorrow that will be activated after our class at 6:30 no. So if you can attend or the other batch of your classmates will attend the lecture. So just remember, the code of the day will be activated tomorrow. Okay. So do you have any questions, guys, before we leave? I still have to go back to our school. Di ako nangalasi sa balay because nga mahina ang signal to ya. So do you have any questions, guys, before we end our session for this afternoon?
No, sir.
Okay, so thank you for attending our class, and hopefully you will work on balikan mo duman sa groupmates ninyo ha regarding sa activity for this week. Okay, so thank you and good afternoon.